Welcome back to another episode of the Remade Life Podcast. In this episode, I'm asking a very thought-provoking question: are you getting in the way of your healing? And I'm also discussing whether a holistic and natural approach is really better than a pharmaceutical approach when it comes to healing chronic disease. Let's talk about it. And as always, a reminder that nothing in this episode or any of my episodes is to be considered medical advice. If there was ever an episode to not be taken as medical advice, it is 100% this one. Hello, it feels so great to be back behind the mic, a little bit longer than I expected from my last episode. I recorded a 2-part series on my autoimmune journey and navigating through kidney inflammation, and I received a lot of positive feedback from it. So if you listen to those 2 episodes, thank you so much. I really appreciate you listening, and I truly hope that those episodes were helpful. I mean, even if it just helped you feel less alone in your autoimmune journey, totally worth it for me. So it was hard for me from a perspective of being a health professional and as someone that had gotten off medication to just share so openly and feel like I had failed you. Because if I got off medication and then had a huge flare-up, I just don't ever want to take away anyone's hope. Like, getting off of medication is absolutely possible. I just had some more things I needed to learn along the way in my journey, and I'm going to continue to share those. So before we get into today's episode, I do want to say that if you are watching on YouTube, my hair has gotten so much longer. I think it's like time for a trim. It's finally gotten long enough to where I think it does need a trim because it's starting to get like really fluffy. So I've been wearing these headbands. I'm in like a little bit of a headband era right now because it just like keeps my hair from looking like I'm wearing a helmet. I do love volume, and pageant girl Daniela would love this volume, but it's a little much without like the curls and stuff that follow the volume. It's just like a poof on my head right now, but that's where we are. So I'm hoping to get a trim pretty soon. So, okay, let's get into today's episode. So one thing that came up for me a lot in the months working through my flare-up was this tension about taking medication. And let me just say before we start that I'm not against medication. Medication has helped me a lot in many ways across my lifespan. We love it, okay? But it was the tension of finally getting off of medication and reaching like that 1-year milestone, and then just boop, I was like on 17 different medications on what felt like overnight. If you listen to that 2-part series, I shared about how after my kidney biopsy, I was prescribed Cellcept, but then when I was at home, I just kept feeling like I was being poisoned, and I was like, am I blocking myself from receiving this medication? Is it me? Am I just so mad about having to take medication that I'm like blocking it from working? Well, no, I was allergic to it, and I was essentially being poisoned. So the lesson there is to trust your intuition. But during that time, I was really wrestling with this concept of getting in the way of your healing. And I was working through whether or not medication was the right choice for me. Like, were there other ways that I could support my body, support my kidneys without such intense medication? And also, I just recently graduated from massage therapy school at the time, and we learned so much about all these holistic ways to support our body and our clients, and I was just having this internal dilemma of how I could support my body the best. And I was researching the herbs, the Ayurvedic medicine, the Chinese medicine. I was like, what if I just don't take anything? Like, I'll just let my body do its thing. I mean, the body heals itself, right? Right? Because my body was not doing that at that moment. And I really felt like a fraud. Like, here I was making all these Instagram posts about how the body heals itself, and I had been off medication, and suddenly my kidneys were like, honey, sit down. Okay? It was a very humbling experience for sure. So here's where this concept of getting in the way of our healing comes from. Instagram, of course. I mean, I'm not going to pretend like most of us don't get a lot of our information from social media. It's where a lot of us spend our time now, and it's where I spend a lot of my time now. And there are a couple of online accounts, one specifically, which I'll be focusing most on today. I'm not going to share what accounts they are because this isn't necessarily for or against their content, but I'm just sharing what I've learned from them. And I do love their content because they are so unapologetically for the body's natural ability to heal. And it's really challenged the way that I think about the body in contrast to how I was educated and taught about the body, especially in regards to autoimmune disease. So a lot of their content makes statements like cancer is a healing response. Autoimmune disease is a healing response. An aneurysm is a healing response. Like literally anything that we typically think of as a disease, they say it's a healing response. And initially it's like a bit insulting, right? Like, excuse me, are you telling me that cancer is a healing response? Yeah, they are. Because if you think bigger than the cancer itself and you consider, okay, how did we arrive at cancer? We can consider how all of our life choices, the physical choices, the emotional choices, mental choices, internal, external choices, all of that has culminated to this point that resulted in cancer. And people take offense to that because then that means they caused the cancer, right? I don't know. I'm just sharing someone else's perspective, right? So don't come at me about this. So if we consider cancer to be a healing response as a response to all the choices that led to this moment of developing cancer, cancer is the healing response because it is what teaches you what needs to change, which is also offensive because Western medicine does not do a great job of educating people on how lifestyle changes impact the outcome of cancer. It's a lot of, well, like, here's this treatment, and that's really about the only option you have, right? And this is also true from any other disease of the body. I was just focusing on cancer because I think it can be the most offensive or controversial when we say it's a healing response from the body. But literally anything, inflammation, tight muscles, weakness, fat gain, bone loss, digestive issues, herniated disc, depression, anxiety, panic, disinterest, all those emotions, these are all healing responses. All of it, the physical and the emotional, mental, are all healing responses of the body. And then, just to make it all the more confusing, this one particular account that I follow then states that any medication, any supplement, herb, plant medicine, bodywork treatment, any of it, all those things that we consider healing treatments, yes, even the holistic, natural, organic, non-GMO, ancestral healing practices, they all get in the way of the healing response. Why? Because any and all of the things that we do, that we take, that we apply, all they do is get in the way of the healing response. They try to stop the healing response. So they get in the way of it. So let me just take a moment here to acknowledge that if you have ever felt some kind of guilt or shame for taking pharmaceuticals and not going 100% fully organic, natural, holistic, whatever, you are no less than the people who are taking the holistic, natural approach. And the people who are doing the herbs and the holistic and the meditation and all that to heal their disease, they are no better than the people who choose to do pharmaceuticals because they too are getting in the way of the healing response. Like all of it. It's just a different way. So whether you choose pharmaceuticals or you choose herbs straight from the ground, it's not any different. You are getting in the way of the body's healing response. It's just how you choose to do it. You're getting in the way. So then, like, what the heck are we supposed to do? Like, not heal, not treat the cancer, not address the tight muscles, not address the autoimmune disease? Do I just sit here and let inflammation take over my kidneys until I die? Well, that's why we're having this conversation, right? It took me a really long time to understand what this guy was saying and what he meant by what he was saying. And I gotta say, it makes a lot of sense. It makes sense that any and all diseases that we experience are responses from the body. And if we truly believe that the body was designed to heal, then we have to agree that any disease is a healing response. It makes sense when you think about it from the perspective that all of our life choices and our environment, which may or may not have been your choice, all of that came together to create this perfect scenario for that particular disease to develop. But what took me even longer to understand was okay, but now what? Like, what do we do with that information? If I'm on board with this disease developing as a response to my life and the way I was living my life, then what can I do about it? Because if I don't get in the way of the disease by taking some kind of medicine, whether that's pharmaceutical or holistic natural, if I don't get in the way, then that means I just let the disease take its course. I mean, there are a lot of people who do believe that. Like, you hear the stories of parents, how like they don't take their kids to the doctor when they get sick. They're just like, God will heal them. And if he doesn't, well, that was just what's meant to happen. And I'm not saying that's right or wrong. I'm just saying that it happens. And there are people who believe that it is best to handle disease as just let it take its course, let it happen naturally. And for the record, I am not one of those people. So I go back to the question, if taking or doing anything is getting in the way of my healing, then what can I do? You choose how much you get in the way of your healing. And more importantly, be okay with the choice to get in the way of your healing. You want to stop the response that your body is having? Okay, stop it. Take the medicine in whatever form you choose. It does not matter. Whether it's the most holistic, organic thing ever created or that pharmaceutical drug just developed, it all gets in the way of the healing response. But be okay with your choice, because here is what I have learned. The disease is a response to your life and the way that you choose to live your life. And if you choose to stop the response without learning from it, without changing anything about your life, then your body will continue and will always have that healing response. And you will continue to take the medicine. However, if you choose to consider the disease, whatever disease it is, as a healing response and consider, okay, why is my body having this response? What is it that my body is requesting that I change about my internal or external environment? What is it requesting I change about my lifestyle choices, about the emotions that I hold, the way that I think about life, the way that I treat myself and others, and about the things that I believe? What do I need to change in order to change the response? What input do I need to change in order to change the output? What needs to change in order for my body to stop creating this response? That is the healing. And that is why it's considered a healing response, because it teaches you about what you need to change. But stopping the outcome does nothing to change what is creating the outcome. It's a healing response because it is a teaching moment for you to change what you need to change about the way you are living. So sure, take the medicine in whatever form you choose, and also learn from the healing response. Seek the wisdom your body has to share. Because if you take the medicine without changing what needs to be changed, you don't actually heal anything. You just got in the way of your healing. And here's a hard truth, but I think it's important to share because I know it'll help someone. When I was diagnosed with lupus nephritis at age 16, I did not have the understanding that I do now. I did not have the emotional capacity to understand what I needed to change. So I do not blame myself for having been diagnosed at that age. The only thing I could do was get in the way of my healing. Take the medical treatment. Because there was just no room for learning at the time. I needed to be in survival mode to be cared for. But it is also no surprise now looking back that once I got off of medication in 2023, once I stopped getting in the way of the healing response, it came back 16 years later. And this time, I was ready to understand things from a different perspective. This time, I did consider what I needed to change. I considered the wisdom from my body's response in the form of kidney inflammation. And this time, I did learn what I needed to learn. And have I completely 100% healed and changed all of what I need to change? No. But I am actively working towards that right now. I'm aware that I'm getting in the way of my body's healing response. I'm owning that choice. And also owning what I need to change. Owning the wisdom my body has given me. So when the time comes again that I can start to get off medication, my body will have a different response because I've changed what I needed to change. There will no longer be the need for that healing response. So when this account talks about how everything that we do, anything that we take, do, or apply gets in the way of the healing is because we take all of those things with the goal of just stopping the disease, stopping the healing response without actually learning from it. So no, it's not wrong to take, do, or apply anything, but it is the intention with which you do it, right? If you do it just to stop and not actually learn or change anything from that experience, from that disease, then you are literally just getting in the way of your healing. But if you take it and also seek to learn from it to change the outcome, then you are creating and working with the healing response. You get to choose how much you get in the way of your healing. Whether you take medicine or not, you choose. Whether you learn from the healing response or not, you choose. Whether you make the change that is needed or not, you choose. The choice and owning that choice is also medicine itself. But either way, the outcome is directed by the input that you choose. So, are you getting in the way of your healing? Something to consider. And until next time, my friends, be well.